Let's talk about NXT Battleground, May 28th, 2023. A solid B to B plus show. Nothing sucked. Everything was mostly good, but there were some lows here and there. Some things that you was kind of like, okay. And there was pretty much one big surprise. Not a surprise, but a surprise. So let's go through the show. Okay, so the cold open talked about WWE and their relationship with Lowell, Massachusetts. Basically, some big things that had taken place in that town. One of whom being the DX mockery of the United States Championship, the European title. The DX Sergeant Slaughter thing. Another being The Rock winning his first Intercontinental Championship. This is like in 97 or something like that. So basically saying that they have a history with Lowell, Massachusetts, in that building. The building itself was beautiful. It looked full. I'm pretty sure it wasn't 100% full. But my God, it looked like a very solid crowd. And they were hot all night, all the way up until the end. With, like I said, some lows here and there. Gigantic screens near the entrance. I personally would have probably not had the screens be that big, but it was nice to see NXT out on the road. And whenever NXT is going to go out on the road, that rules. And it seems like they're going to go on the road again for a Great American Bash. They're going to Texas for that. So I'm looking forward to it, man. If they're going to start just doing their pay-per-view events on the road, I like it. Thumbs up. Keep it going. Let's keep going. All right, match 1 for the North American title. Wes Lee defeats Joe Gacy and Tyler Bate. Now, this match was pretty predictable, mainly because you couldn't really see anybody else winning. There was a lot of spots, definitely better than I expected it would be. I was very frustrated, as everybody knows, by the fact that it was a triple threat match, and I cannot stand triple threat matches. But this match had some really decent spots in it. It was also very fluid at times. Tyler Bate showed, what he's really worth when he pulled that airplane spin, big swing spot where he had Joe Gacy on his shoulders for an airplane spin, and he picked up the legs of Wes Lee and he was spinning them both at the same time. It didn't last very long, but it was super impressive. It was very impressive. There was some weirdness in here, like when Gacy got the Rings of Saturn on Wes Lee, and it didn't look like Tyler Bate was in any rush to break the hold. He's supposed to, sell Gacy's crazy eyes or whatever. And I was just kind of like, huh? Like, he could, pass out at any time, tap out at any time. Please, just, do something here. At the end of the day, Wes Lee ends up hitting what's called a cardiac kick, which is basically like a flipping kick to the head, and pinning Joe Gacy to win the match, which was the right decision, because I think the feud going forward is Wes Lee and Tyler Bate. So it was the right decision to go with Gacy being the one to take the pin. I don't know what you do with Gacy at this point. I think maybe we should, tease ourselves with him either going to the main roster or him going fishing. One or the other. I know the fishing thing is coming. I know NXT is going to get hit hard with the fishing. But it's about that time, dog. It's about that. I'm not even going to hold you up. It's about that time. All right. Tyler Bate and Wes Lee, I can see them going forward. It seems like they might go. From this match, you couldn't see who was leaning more towards the heel. But in the outside of these matches, like in the last Go Home show, it was clear that they think they were going with Wes Lee being the more angry of the two. And maybe they'll flip it and it'll be Tyler Bate, but somebody's got to turn heel in this scenario. I want them to continue having matches. Solo matches. No more triple threats. But I think somebody needs to turn heel. It's just absolutely necessary. Tyler Bate has been a babyface his entire WWE career so far. And note it, this guy started in like 2015. So we're talking like 7 years of him just being a babyface. Wes Lee hasn't been around that long. But Tyler Bate has not worked heel in WWE. We got to at least try it at this point. He's in NXT. He's not even 30. I think they said he's 26 now. He was 19 or something like that when he came in. So it's about that time, dog. It's about that time for him to try something different. He said that Wesley is now the fightingest North American champion. He sets the record for the most successful title defenses. I noticed that a lot of the blue check marks, they're very upset about WWE doing this whole record-setting title run thing because they keep talking about it. And they're like, do we need so many record-setting title runs? And I was like, well, it's one of those, can you really have it both ways? If WWE was flipping the title every 2 or 3 weeks, they say, oh, the title doesn't mean anything. They're switching the title every 2 weeks. But if they're choosing to not flip the title for 6 months, for 8 months, they're claiming, oh no, they're trying to force this guy upon us and all these phony record-setting title runs. It's like they're trying to individualize some of these characters because it has been a long time since somebody really got a real good run with some of these titles. The North American title, I'm not sure if it's one of them, but there was a time there where I think it was the Escobar Swerve situation where that title went undefended for a long time. I know that was maybe a year or two ago, but it felt like it wasn't that long ago. And now it's being reestablished under Wes Lee. Unfortunately, it's not being established in feuds. It's being established in this guy just keeps working random open challenge matches. So they need to settle down, create a feud. And so this title run would feel like it matters a lot more. Second match, Dragon Lee loses to Noam Dar 2-1 in the Heritage Cup Championship match. Crowd was hot for this. I thought the crowd was not going to care about this. I was looking at this and saying, like, I don't know if the crowd's going to get with the rules, but the crowd was definitely into it. The first round was very much technical. Those two guys working each other out. Noam Dar is very good. He's great at being a super annoying heel. The only thing is he's very undersized. He's also been around for a long time. So, he's got that stuff working against him. But overall, he is really good at his job at, professional wrestling. Dragon Lee, of course, is phenomenal. Great performer. So each guy was supposed to have a corner man. Nathan Fraser was the corner man for Dragon Lee. And when the match started, there was no corner man for Noam Dar. After the first round, Noam Dar got a corner man. It was Oro Mensah. And I had forgotten that during, I think, one of those NXT Anonymous segments, Noam Dar went around asking people to be his corner man, and people kept telling them no. And it ends up with Oro Mensah being the guy who takes him up on the offer. Dragon Lee, or Noam Dar took the first fall in the second round with a roll up. Dragon Lee did an over the top rope Hurricane Rana in the third round. I was like, oh my God. Jungle Boy started doing that move a lot. He watches some Lucha Libre, but my goodness. I liked the psychology that they utilized here. Dar was in between rounds. I think it was in between the third and fourth round, and he hit a cheap elbow on Dragon Lee. Got a huge reaction. And that tells you that the crowd is actually paying attention to the rules. They hear the ding, 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 the end of the round, and then Dar comes with the elbow like bang, and then everybody's like boo. So that was really good. It shows that they were paying attention. That was great. So Dragon Lee wins the fourth round, what I believe was the Salida del Sol. Fraser and Oro Mensah, they got fighting in between the rounds. I think it was like the fourth and fifth rounds, and they got into a fight because Oro Mensah, he, I guess you could say, turned heel by helping Noam Dar, by pushing the rope in so Noam Dar could get to the ropes. So as these two guys were fighting, there was some other chicanery going on. And then during the fifth round, Chikara Jackson, who has not made a NXT debut, to my knowledge. I know she's done some vignettes and she's been backstage with Lash Legend, but she's mostly been working Level Up. I have not seen her on NXT TV. She runs to the ring. She distracts the referee. Lash Legend jumps the barricade, and Dragon Lee is leaning up against the ropes near the announce table. She takes the bucket that you're supposed to use, for, spitting. You drink water, spit it out. She bashes the bucket across the head of Dragon Lee, which leads to the Nova Roller kick, and Noam Dar wins. Later, he is having a celebration, and he is surrounded by black people. Now, when you look at this thing, and you're saying Alicia Fox worked with Noam Dar, so we're going to quadruple down on this. And now we're going to put Noam Dar with all the black people we don't know what to do with. And I don't know what this stable is going to be called. I don't know what's going on with it. I don't know why this menagerie of characters is being slammed together. I'm sitting here looking at it confused. Like, I don't get it. Like, I know that he got into a verbal altercation with Lash Legend when he started his show, Supernova Sessions. And she was talking about how her show was the only one that mattered. And Jakara just hangs out with her. That's kind of her tag team partner. And I know he asked Oro Mensah to be his corner man, but I don't understand how all of these characters get along. But okay. Dragon Lee loses this match. I wasn't a fan of that. And that was the big surprise. Because I figured, all right, Dragon Lee should be able to win this title. And based off of CMLL rules, because CMLL does a lot of 2 out of 3 falls kinds of situations, and he's worked there before, he might be able to tweak this a little bit and we can make it work. Them choosing to instead beat him is crazy to me. Noam Dar beats Dragon Lee, but I guess that's also a test, to see if Dragon Lee's got the right mentality for the long term in WWE. Because he did come in with a lot of fanfare. But I don't want him to be in a situation similar to like Nikita Lyons, where you're sitting back waiting for him to break through because he got it. And then it just never happens. Like, that's the shit. Like, a guy who's a big get for them should not be losing to Noam Dar on pay-per-view. That should not be fucking happening. Even if you had 4 people cheating, he still should have fucking beaten Noam Dar. I mean, can you imagine telling people, oh yeah, WWE spent the money to get Dragon Lee, and then they put him in NXT, which is not a problem, but they put him in NXT to job him out to Noam Dar. Everybody look at you like, are they fucking retarded up there? And I have to say, yes. You got a bunch of guys in NXT who clearly are not thinking straight. If you were going to have Noam Dar win this match, it should have been against somebody else. It shouldn't have been against Dragon Lee. You could have flipped Dragon Lee and Nathan Fraser, and this match would have been perfectly fine. If Dragon Lee was the corner man and Nathan Fraser was the guy in the match. I mean, it would have made more sense to me anyway. But they do what they do. And Sean, I don't know, man. I'm trying to show Sean some level of respect because he does have some talent when it comes to booking and putting a show together. But this Dragon Lee decision is abysmal. Look, I don't even hate Noam Dar, but I'm just looking at that shit like, man, come on. You can't be real and think that, oh yeah, we're just going to have Dragon Lee losing Noam Dar. Get the fuck out of here. Moving on. Dijak, Ilya Dragunov, they tried to murder each other. This was a masterclass in selling, and it shows you the strong suit of Ilya Dragunov because he was in his bag in this match. This is a match where how much damage can one person take? And Dragunov's selling really put it over the top. You didn't need a lot of blood. You don't need screwdrivers. You don't need staples. You don't need thumbtacks. You could use the same basic weapons that they use in every goddamn match. Use them a little bit differently. And let the guys sell the weapons. And you could turn it into a really good match. Case in point, they use tables all the time. But how many people have actually launched themselves through a table at another guy? Dragunov did that. Okay, like he literally running headbutt through the table onto Dijak. That was crazy. And I think it might have split him open a little bit. So they did some stuff where Dragunov basically just took a ton of punishment. He got suplexed on the bottom part of the stairs. He took Dijak's finish, the little flippity doodah, somewhat. It's the same move Sammy Guevara does. But because Ilya Dragunov is apparently Andre the Giant, he didn't go down. He just staggered halfway across the ring over into the corner, where he used the corner to hold him up. And then this is the part where his selling actually took over, because he's taking kendo stick shots to the chest, and he's verbally, and it's almost like he was crying in certain parts. But, you know, as Dijak is telling him he wants him to quit, you're making me do this to you, he's refusing, you know, and he's just taking these kendo stick shots to the chest, directly to the chest. And Dragunov was like, I'm still standing, you know? And I was like, holy shit. Like, this is the same guy, finally, that we saw against Walter. You know, this is the same guy we watched fight Walter tooth and nail to the death. That's who Dragunov is, you know? That's what this character is. This is what the character has been missing for a while, you know? That he can absorb tremendous amounts of punishment and keep fighting, because he's not a human being, apparently, you know? Like he's Russian. And, you know, the whole thing about Russians is they're very tough. So you're looking at this thing, and he's beating the shit out of Dragunov. He's hitting him in the back with the chair hard. It's not like no love taps. He's really warming him up with those chairs. And Dragunov is like shaking it, trying to shake it off. You know, Dijak is telling him to quit. He's like, nope. It's not even a I quit match. It's a last man standing match. You know, so the big finish, I actually enjoyed the finish. Dragunov ends up with Dijak down on the floor. Dijak has the chair in his hand, but his head is dangling over the chair. Ilya Dragunov, jumped off the stairs with like a AJ Styles forearm smash into the back of Dijak's head, ramming his head into the metal chair, and Dijak did not get up. Therefore, Ilya Dragunov won. And I said to myself, absolutely. This guy is a piece of work. This is how you really get over a tough guy. You know, you put him in there and you just accept that he's about to get his ass beat. He accepts it and he rises to the challenge and he overcomes. That fucking rules. Take away nothing from Dijak, because his character, I guess he had to lose, but you look at this situation and you say to yourself, it was, you know, a perfect setup for a Dragunov win. You know, can't complain too much. Where do these guys go from here? I don't know. But this is what we've come to see and want to see from Dragunov. The guy who fought Walter to the death is because he was willing to take the chops and the beating and the stomping and everything and continue to fight. And it's his body versus yours. You know, and I'm thinking like Dragunov is the kind of guy that you need to strike while the iron's hot with him, because he might, and if they do things the right way, I can't believe I'm about to say this, he might get over like Chris Benoit. Like, because Chris Benoit was another one of those guys too. Like, it's not just the technical aspect, but the fact that Benoit could absorb a lot of damage. You know, that he had that ferocity to him that people liked. And I think that Dragunov has that too, where he's got a ferocity to the character, where it's bigger than his size. You know, like if you just watch a match and you see Dragunov, you see him like he's like a really small man. But if you watch him fight guys, or, you know, he's on the selling end of it and he's getting his ass beat, as he should, because he's small, but he never quits. He's willing to just take it. And it's a situation where he can say, I can take more than you can give, but you can't take as much as I can give. And that's an incredible situation, because it's not him bullying some bigger guy and beating him. It's him basically taking the guy's best shots over and over and over again, and then eventually catching you with something and winning. So, it's tremendous. Like, really good psychology there. All right. So, Chase University had a segment here where Duke Hudson is frustrated by being the substitute teacher, and he's done finally grading all the exams. He cussed out one of the students for not being very good, and then he passed over the class to Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey to talk about catch as catch can, or whatever wrestling, stretch wrestling or whatever. So then they utilized a visual aid. That's what they used to call them in my day. Where Thea Hale is a terrible grappler, and she lost her match because she's not good at grappling. And when she says, like, and Drew Gulak is like, yes, Thea Hale, she's not a good grappler, so she's always going to be at a disadvantage. So Thea Hale is upset that she was singled out and humiliated in front of the class. She gets up and leaves. Gulak just continues to teach like this did not happen. And so Duke Hudson was like, hey, what are you doing? Like this girl she's upset. And Drew Gulak said, there's no crying in WWE. So then, there clearly is crying in WWE. There's lots of crying. It's too much crying. Anyway, Duke kicked him out and told him to come back with a better lesson plan next time. So they're playing both sides of the fence with Duke, where he clearly is a heel, but he does like being in control, and he kind of likes being a teacher. So I can see them doing both sides of the fence with this thing, and I'm thoroughly enjoying that. All right. The fourth match on the show was the Creed brothers versus Gallus for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Let me tell you, the Creeds got it all. The Creeds are tremendous. Julius Creed especially is phenomenal. He went on this belly-to-belly overhead kip-up spree where it seemed like he just threw these two guys around for, I don't know, forever. It was great. It was great, He really looked awesome. Need to work on his promos. His brother is going to be something. His brother's going to be interesting. He might have a future in comedy or something like that. But Julius Creed, I think, is the kind of guy that if they play their cards right, you're looking at a solid Intercontinental Champion for a long time. Is he going to be up to being the world champion? Who knows? But I think that this guy and the Creed brothers as a tag team have a tremendous, tremendous upside. Gallus is Gallus. They're just basically tough guys. And they took a lot of bumps in this match, so I got to give them some credit. So, Joe Coffey, Mark's brother, is outside the ring. He gets in the ring. He tries to attack the Creed brothers. He gets tripped by Ivy Nile. At that point, Ava Raine comes out there and shoves Ivy into the ring post. That distracts the Creed brothers, and they end up losing. So the Creed brothers lost, despite being probably one of the best tag teams in the business right now, even though they haven't even been in the business that long. That's kind of deflated the audience, partially because they were like, okay, it was the Creed's night, but also because it's almost as if I don't think there's any real connection with Gallus. I don't know what you do with the Creed brothers now. Unless you do a one-off match or a super stipulation where if the Creeds lose, they can never challenge for the titles again, or they have to break up or something like that. I don't see how you continue this feud. Clearly, we're going with Ava Raine versus Ivy Nile as a feud in the future. I don't know what they're feuding for, but okay. Also, I didn't notice how big Ava Raine was until she got behind Ivy Nile, and I was like, what the hell? She's huge. She's monstrous. It must just be because Ivy Nile is super short. But I was just kind of like, God damn, I thought it was Tamina that was attacking, Ava Raine. I'm sorry, Ivy Nile. All right, the tag team title match was okay. I don't think Gallus has enough heat yet, so them winning, okay. But we definitely need to spice it up with them. I don't know how, but we need to do something. The Creed brothers got it all, man. They should have gone on a Brian Breaker style tag team championship run. They should have been tag team champions for a year or something like that. Then I think we'd be ready to pull them onto the main roster. All right, so the hoodie thug, the young lady who's been attacking people on NXT, who's wreaked havoc and caused all kind of mayhem, she has promised to reveal herself on Tuesday. And that's an interesting hook for the show. So who could it possibly be? I believe it's clearly going to be somebody who hasn't been around for a while. At first I thought it was going to be Stevie Turner. And then I found out that Stevie Turner is working house shows, so it's not her. It's not likely to be somebody we've never seen before. Again, it's far more likely to be B Priestley. I'm sorry, Blair Davenport. That being said, Tiffany Stratton is, well, I could go into that in a second, but Tiffany Stratton's the champion. So you would think that the hoodie thug who will go after the champion, but it's also going to have like her own storyline with the people that she attacked, because Wendy Chu is one of the people she attacked, so it's not going to be Wendy Chu. Nikita Lyons was one of the people she attacked, so it's not going to be Nikita Lyons. So you're kind of asking your question, like, who is it going to be? Now, I'm at this point where I'm saying we will probably find out. It will probably be revealed in the weaponized steel cage match, where the hoodie thug is going to probably get involved and help JC Jane win. And then it might actually end up being Mandy Rose. Like, that's just something I'm throwing out there. I'm thinking that if she gets involved with this JC Jane Gigi Dolan match, it would make sense for it to be Mandy Rose. I would prefer it if it was Blair Davenport. I would prefer it if it was, I can't think of anybody else, but I would prefer if it was Blair Davenport. That would work for me. Or if it was somebody from the main roster, let's say. Let's say it was, I don't know, Lacey Evans, okay? That would work for me. That would be fine. But I don't think that would be the case. So I'm thinking it's going to be somebody who's been in NXT before, but they haven't been in a prominent position. And I think Blair Davenport just needs something different with her. And she hasn't been there in a long time, so it might be somebody that they might forget. But I think if you really want to make a huge impact, it would be Mandy Rose. If you want to make a huge impact, I think that's the direction you go. Plus she's been attacking baby faces. And this ties into Lyra Valkyria versus Tiffany Stratton, because one of the people she attacked was Lyra Valkyria. So Lyra Valkyria tweaked her knee in doing a leapfrog in this match, and that was the story of the match. And you see how Tiffany Stratton has taken this thing. My goodness, her and Brian Breaker are so fucking natural. They look fucking amazing. It's crazy what they're doing down there in Florida. Like, everybody's like, they're just creating cardboard cutouts of everybody. It's like, man, you gotta be fucking kidding me. You look at Tiffany Stratton and fucking Brian Breaker and tell me that NXT sucks? It's like, you gotta be fucking, you're a joke. Tiffany Stratton she was not even in the business at all 3 years ago. Now she is legit one of the best female wrestlers in the country. She's far better than people who have been in the business longer than she has. In terms of her psychology, just this match alone, how she was doing stuff she had never actually done before, like working a body part. doing knee breakers. She did a stretch muffler in this match, and it was fucking perfect. Even locked the fingers. It was perfect. Her dragon screw leg whip looked good. All of her stuff looked good. Now, there were some minor glitches here and there. Not a lot, though. Some minor glitches. But, again, she's only been in the business for 2 years. And she's phenomenal. And the crowd was 100% behind her in this match. There was people legitimately booing when they thought that, I'm going to call her Eva Valkyrie, because that was her name in NXT UK. When they thought Lyra Valkyria was about to win. There was a spot where Tiffany missed the PME, the prettiest moonsault ever, and it looked like Lyra Valkyria is going to hit her with a roundhouse kick, which is her finish, and that she was going to win. And they did the spot when she's going to do the spin for the kick, and then, I hurt my knee. But as she was preparing for Tiffany to get back up, they were doing the old WWE, you're in the corner waiting for your opponent to get up. And the crowd is booing. They're like, boo, no. I think pretty much 100% of the people in the audience wanted Tiffany to win. And it was great that she did win. But it's kind of fucked because, Lyra Valkyria is good for the most part. She's had some botches here and there, but she's legitimately pretty good. She did a double Northern Lights suplex in this match. She went for the trifecta, but Tiffany had countered it. Another big spot that got Tiffany a lot of fan reaction is when she caught Lyra Valkyria when she did the crossbody from the top and she rolled through. I thought that was going to be the finishing sequence right there, and it didn't work. And I thought like, oh shit, that's going to be wild. That sequence with the missed moonsault was excellent. So how it was set up is that she collapsed from the knee, so she couldn't do the roundhouse. Tiffany picked her up, put her down, tried to do the moonsault, missed again. She missed the moonsault. At that point, Lyra Valkyria did hit the roundhouse kick, and everybody's booing. Tiffany flopped near the ropes. 1, 2, put her foot on the ropes. Crowd absolutely explodes. That was a really good sequence. So Tiffany Stratton ends up winning with the prettiest moonsault ever after the Green Bay plunge, what the hell do you call it when you're the steamroller or whatever they call it when you run forward and do like a forward Samoan drop, followed by the prettiest moonsault ever. It was tremendous. Right person won, right decision. She won clean, which is fine. I don't know if they're going to consider turning Tiffany babyface. I wouldn't do it. She's working too strongly as a heel. At the same time, though, if you're going to reveal somebody who's been wreaking havoc, wouldn't it make sense for them to come after the new champion? If that's the case, then I guess you are turning Tiffany babyface by default, right? But I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Because, that person who's been attacking people, they're going to have opponents to fight, the Wendy Choos, and eventually Sol Ruka will be back, and she'll have opponents to fight, so I guess it'll be fine. But Lyra Valkyria is tough, I thought they would give it to a babyface because it's a tournament, but I'm glad they made the decision to go ahead and give it to Tiffany Stratton. It was the right move, and the crowd wanted it. They wanted it really bad, so they got what they wanted. All right, main event, Braun Breaker, Carmelo Hayes. So Carmelo Hayes wins this match, and I gotta tell you, the finish wasn't my favorite. I didn't like the finish, but I did like the match. In and of itself, the match was really good, but the finish wasn't a big fan. So Braun Breaker comes out, and he's wearing a dog mask with a hoodie that got like scratches in it and stuff. And I was like, okay, the mask is a bit much. Now, it reminds me a lot of Shingo Takagi's dragon mask, which he wears in New Japan. So it kind of prevented it from being so over the top. I was like, you can't take this seriously. So, I was like, okay, it's in the same vein as the Shingo Takagi mask. I'm like, okay, that's cool. It fits his gimmick too, because he's doing the whole, he got the dog in him. So, okay. Trick Williams says Boston is the home of all these championships and them baked beans. So, that dude was just silly. All right, so they went in there and they had a really good match. I think this match was probably better than their first match, even though I think the finish was worse. Because, again, Carmelo Hayes winning with a flying leg drop seems goofy. It just comes across as being very goofy. And they blew through Braun's finish when he did the spear from the springboard and only got a 2 count. I was like, oh no, they really shitting on my man's now. Just because now that he's a heel, his finish doesn't work anymore? Yeah, classic pro wrestling, if I ever heard it, right? I beat 1,000 people with this move as a babyface. As soon as I turn heel, this move doesn't work anymore. That's crazy. So there was some little hiccups here and there, but this match was still very solid. You can't go wrong with Carmelo Hayes. The kid's awesome. He's another one that's he's an indie wrestler first, so I don't gush as much over him, but he's really come alive with his character and in-ring work stuff too. So I'm very interested in where we go with him now that I guess the whole thing with Brian Breaker is over, and I'm very interested in what we do with Brian Breaker. You know, where do you take this character? That's why he probably shouldn't have lost clean. You know, this seemed like one of those things where you need a Bret Hart finish, you know? And that's where I kind of was tripped up right here. I was like, you need a Bret Hart finish for a Braun Breaker type character. You know, you need it where similar to Survivor Series 95, where, you know, Diesel had Bret beat, but he was being cocky. And then Bret small packaged him and pinned him. And then, you know, he was like, motherfucker. You know, he got over on me. He tricked me. That's the kind of finish you need for Braun Breaker. He didn't need to get the leg drop and pins. Like, come on. We didn't need that. We needed Braun to be, you know, because he was doing all the Scott Steiner stuff, like doing push-ups and everything. And he was being super cocky. It was like, all right, seemed like it was perfect setup for Braun to think he got Carmelo beat. He could play with him, toy with him, kick him, slap him around. And then he makes a minor mistake. Carmelo Hayes, you know, rolls him up, small package, maybe even put his feet on the ropes, steals the win. Brian gets to complain, but he lost. And maybe you squeeze a third match out of this thing. Or maybe you're like, well, he lost. Now we just move on. And now he's got something. He got a bitch. He's got to, you know, the right to complain. But when you lose clean, you have no right to complain. And I think that if you're trying to really establish Braun Breaker's new character, he shouldn't have lost clean. I get it. You're trying to establish Carmelo Hayes as a champion too. But you can do both of those things at the same time. You could give Carmelo Hayes the win, even a serious win, while also maintaining and protecting the integrity of his opponent. You definitely need a Bret Hart finish in this match. Maybe something where he put him in the in the Cobra clutch, not the Cobra clutch, the Camel clutch, the Steiner recliner. You know, he thinks that he passed out or whatever, and he lets him go, and Carmelo Hayes put his hand on the ropes. Now Braun is like, he's done, he's finished. And he tells the referee, raise my hand. The ref doesn't do it. He argues with the ref more. Then he goes back over to Carmelo Hayes, who then, you know, grabs him and either does like something quick, like a crucifix or a roll up or whatever, and scores a quick win. And then gets out of the ring before Braun can really realize what happened. Like, that would have been far more effective to me, and would have been better in terms of protecting Braun's new gimmick. Like, have him be a heel for 3 weeks and then lose immediately, clean. Kind of nutty to me. It screams that you don't have any long-term planning, which is unfortunate, because with a guy like Braun, you need to have long-term planning. I really think that one of the best things about the new generation era was that sometimes guys was Bret Hart, you know, because Bret Hart would come up with these unique ways of winning matches that didn't kill his opponents. You know, it wasn't he wanted to put everybody in the sharpshooter and win. It was, hey, Bam Bam Bigelow was the victory role. You know, Diesel was a small package. You know, sometimes he might win a match with the sharpshooter. Sometimes he might win a match from, you know, some other type of chicanery. Just being versatile and showing that you can do different things is just as much of a push as if you win with your finish. Not everybody needs to win with their finish, man. Now, especially a finish that's when you come flying off the top rope with a leg drop. I already hate the finish. But when it doesn't make sense to me in storyline either, it's goofy. I mean, Braun hit this guy with everything. And Carmelo still, an undersized Carmelo Hayes, still managed to survive and win. Get the fuck out of here. Stop playing with me, dog. You know, like, stop playing with me. Anyway, NXT Battleground. If I had to give it a grade, I would give it a B+. Noam Dar and Dragon Lee was a bit of a surprise in terms of how the crowd was into it, but I also got to take away points for Dragon Lee losing. So, because I'm a big fan of Dragon Lee, I know most people are going to be like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Like, to me, like, this is his first singles match and a pay-per-view, and it's one of his first singles matches because he haven't had that many singles matches, and you beat him. That really makes him look bad, and the money you spent on him, you certainly don't want to make him look bad. So that's a problem. Gallus and the Creed brothers not having some type of gimmick was kind of limiting. Wasn't a big fan of that. Plus Gallus won, so I was kind of like rolling my eyes at that. So it is what it is. But Dijak and Dragunov, you know, they over-delivered. Tiffany Stratton winning, the great crowd reaction for her. Right decision. And Melo and Braun was amazing. The top three matches delivered. You know, Dijak and Dragunov delivered. The women's championship tournament delivered. And Braun and Carmelo delivered. Now, the question, of course, has been, what's going on with the women's tag team titles? They're still on SmackDown. Is somebody going to retrieve them and bring them back? Like, what's going to happen here? I wonder if now that the women's championship tournament is over, that are we going to finally address that situation? Because Fire and Dawn just walking around with the tag team titles like everything is sweet is probably not a good idea. And it's not going to do good for your morale in NXT. Like, I know there are a lot of people who hate these tag team championships anyway and want to get rid of them. But this is WWE, and they are, you know, in the middle of a woke revolution in the world. They can't just turn around and be like, oh, women's tag team championships, we're throwing them in the garbage, it's over. Well, they did throw them in the garbage once. And people got pissed, cried about it, and it ain't been the same since, if we're being honest. But it opens up more doors and more opportunities. Now you're going to have Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson actually doing something on this show. Then maybe they need to win some championships, or they need to have championships to fight for. You know, there's other women on this show who probably need championships to fight for too. Like, not everybody's going to be a great singles star. You know, you still got your Kiana James and your Fallon Henleys and, you know, a bunch of other chicks who are in the PC, your Danny Palmers. Give these chicks, you know, the tag team titles or something to fight for, while Tiffany Stratton enjoys her title run, which is hopefully long and fruitful. You know, so let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.
Tell me what's worse than learning all that you led to believe was all horse crap.